My wife secretly had another family for 5 years, but I only found out because her daughter walked up to me and called me dad. I met Olivia when I was 28, and from the moment we started dating, everything felt effortless. She was kind, intelligent, and somehow always knew exactly what to say. 3 years later, we got married, bought a house, and everyone around us kept saying how lucky we were to have found each other. I believed them. Every Friday, Olivia visited her mother in another city. She never asked me to come because, according to her, her mother hated guests and preferred spending time only with family. I respected that. For 5 years, every single Friday, she disappeared for the entire day. I never questioned it. Then, one afternoon, my meeting was canceled, and I decided to surprise her by driving to her mother's house with flowers. When I arrived, an elderly woman opened the door and looked completely confused. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Hi, I'm Daniel, Olivia's husband. Is she here?" The woman frowned. "My daughter hasn't visited me in over 8 months. I felt my stomach drop. I forced a smile, apologized, and walked back to my car. My first thought was that maybe her mother was losing her memory. My second thought was much worse. I called Olivia. She answered immediately. "Hey, I'm still with Mom. I'll be home around 7. She lied without hesitation. I didn't tell her where I was. Instead, I drove away and waited a few streets down. About 20 minutes later, Olivia's car passed me. She wasn't heading toward our home. I decided to follow her. She drove nearly 40 minutes before stopping outside a quiet suburban house. I watched as she got out, walked to the front door, and hugged a little girl who couldn't have been older than 6. Seconds later, a man opened the door. Olivia kissed him, not on the cheek, a real kiss. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. I sat there for nearly an hour before driving home. That evening, she walked through the front door smiling, kissed me, and asked how my day had been. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "It was fine." For the next 2 weeks, I pretended nothing had happened. I smiled, laughed, and listened to her stories about visiting her mother. Meanwhile, I hired a private investigator. When his report arrived, it was worse than I ever imagined. The little girl was named Sophie. Her birth certificate listed Olivia as her mother. The man she had kissed was named Michael. According to public records, they had been legally married for 7 years. 7. We'd only been married for 5. I read the report 3 times because my brain refused to believe it. Somehow, Olivia had been legally married to another man before she married me. Either our marriage was fake or theirs was. The investigator dug deeper. 3 days later, he called me back. "You're not going to believe this," he said. It turned out Michael also believed he was Olivia's only husband. She had told him that she traveled every weekday because she managed several rental properties in another city. She had built 2 completely different lives with 2 different husbands, using 2 different last names. Neither of us knew the other existed. I didn't call Olivia. Instead, I called Michael. At first, he thought I was trying to scam him. Then I sent him our wedding photos. 5 minutes later, he sent me his. Same woman, same wedding dress, different church, different groom. We agreed to meet the following Saturday. For 3 hours, we compared photos, bank statements, vacations, and messages. Every lie lined up perfectly. She had divided her life with military precision. Mondays through Thursdays, she was my wife. Fridays through Sundays, she was his. We should have hated each other, but instead, we laughed at how unbelievably ridiculous the situation was. Then we made a plan. 2 weeks later, Olivia invited both families to celebrate what she claimed was a surprise anniversary at dinner. She had no idea Michael and I had already spoken. When she walked into the restaurant, she froze. I was sitting on one side of the table. Michael was sitting on the other. Between us was a photo album containing both weddings. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Before she could invent another lie, the little girl looked at me, smiled innocently, and asked, "Mom, why is the other daddy here?" The entire restaurant went silent. Olivia burst into tears and admitted everything. She had married Michael for financial security after getting pregnant. Years later, she met me, fell in love with my lifestyle, and convinced herself she could keep both families forever. She thought neither of us would ever discover the truth because we lived in different cities and had completely different routines. She was wrong. Within months, both marriages were over. She lost both houses during the legal proceedings. Most of her savings disappeared in court, and neither Michael